After a solid season in the NBL, Alex Sarr was drafted with the 2nd overall pick to the Washington Wizards. At 7'1", he could do a bit of everything and was one of the most physically gifted players in the whole class. So going into this year's Summer League, the expectations for him were set pretty high. But Alex was, disappointing to say the least. He averaged just 5.5 points per game, which was the lowest out of any first-round pick that played in at least 4 games. Alex shot 9 for 47 from the field and 2 for 17 from 3. Shooting less than 20% from the field is bad, but it's even worse when you're 7 feet tall. He was struggling in the first 2 games, but that 3rd game is what put him in the record books. Against the Blazers, he shot 0 for 15 and finished the game with 0 points. Alex was able to make an impact in other ways throughout the game, but literally nothing he shot was going in. Donovan Clingan did play good defense on him, but still, soon he'll be facing guys like him or better on a nightly basis. The Wizards also lost by just 2 points. If he could have made one of his 15 shots, then they possibly could have gotten the win. And this led to the first highlight tape of a player that didn't score a single point. The number one criticism people had about him is the fact that he was trying to play like a guard instead of a 7-footer, which is something you now see all the time. Every player in the world wants to be the next Kevin Durant. Instead of taking notes on all the Hall of Fame 7-footers that dominated in the paint, they rather dribble and shoot threes. When it works, he looks unstoppable, but when it doesn't, it makes you appreciate how good of a player KD really is. But people were calling out more than just the way he was playing on offense. They were questioning his motor, lack of strength, and several other things as well. He was definitely getting hyper-analyzed after that 0-point game, but still, there were some valid points. Although I think you can chalk up a lot of it to him just being in his own head. I say this because the very next game Alex played, he took just 6 shots. He didn't even attempt a single 3 after taking several throughout the first few games. He definitely needed to tweak his shot selection, but taking less than half the shots he usually takes wasn't a good sign. That Dion Waiters meme talking about how he would rather go 0 for 30 instead of 0 for 9 is honestly true. Confidence is key, and as soon as you start overthinking things, it will all fall apart. Then on defense, he wasn't as consistent as a lot of people hoped, but he still made several good plays and had some of the most blocks in the entire Summer League. The good news about this whole situation is that this is just the Summer League. Alex hasn't played a single game in the NBA and people are already calling him a bust. And it didn't help that multiple other Wizards draft picks were actually playing really well. However, if how people played in the Summer League was a real sign of how they would play in the NBA, then the league would look a whole lot different. Playing as bad as he did obviously isn't good. It's not something that should be completely dismissed. But at the same time, it should be taken with a grain of salt. This Summer League is some of the most unstructured basketball there is. Players are playing for themselves, and teams literally met each other just days before the games. They're basically glorified open gyms. Some of the games were actually hard to watch. Dalton Knecht played well in the 3 games he appeared in, but even he struggled in the first games of the California Classic. And Dalton is 23 years old. Alex just turned 19 in April. We've seen players play bad in the Summer League and turn into great players. We've also seen players dominate in the Summer League just to barely ever play in the NBA. It gives you a glimpse at what's to come, but by no means is it the end-all be-all. But the reason I'm making this video is because I think people have the wrong idea of who Alex Sarr is as a player. You have to remember why the Wizards drafted him in the first place. He's an extremely athletic 7-footer that can be a menace on defense while still being able to contribute on offense. His length and athleticism is something that can't be taught. Like I said earlier, he's one of the most physically gifted players in his class. Alex is honestly exactly who scouts said he was. He's a lot better than your average project player, but he still is definitely a project. The biggest concern scouts had about him was his offense, which is why I'm not really surprised he struggled. I know when everyone thinks of a top pick in the NBA draft, they think of someone who absolutely dominated throughout high school and college. But Alex was never the main option on the teams he played for. He was out there for his incredible defense, and because he was athletic, he was able to make things happen on offense. Just not nearly as often as you would assume for someone with a ton of hype. But if you knew how he played coming into this, then you knew he wasn't going to come out and immediately strive offensively. Don't get me wrong, I think we all expected more than what we got out of him, but him coming out and averaging 20 points a game from the jump was unrealistic. All you have to do to come up with that conclusion is look at what he's done in the past. After making a name for himself in France, he joined the Overtime Elite, which is basically a league in the US that pays high schoolers to play for them. The competition in the league is actually pretty solid. They've had multiple NBA players come out of there. But Alex finished his second season averaging 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. He actually played better than his numbers show, but still, nothing about his stats were super outstanding, especially on offense. Then, for his final season before the draft, he decided to go play in the NBL, which is one of the best basketball leagues in the world. During that year, he averaged 9.4 points, 4 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game, which doesn't seem that crazy, but he was doing that in 17 minutes a night. Plus, he was just 18 years old going against some of the best basketball players outside of the NBA. He showed several flashes at what he could become throughout the season, and that's ultimately what got him drafted as a top 3 pick. His ceiling is incredibly high, and even his floor is a lot higher than people are assuming right now. If he can put it all together, he will easily be a multiple-time All-Star. Would he have gone as high as he did in most other draft classes? No, but he would still easily be a lottery pick. The overall package he has right now is only going to get better with time. I know Wizards fans are looking for that player to completely turn their franchise around right away, but like we all know, that doesn't happen very often. But because he does play for the Wizards, he will actually be given time to develop and won't have a ton of pressure on him to perform immediately. Once he's consistently practicing with the team and figures out how exactly to be the most effective on offense, people will understand why he was taken with the second pick. And if he does become an all-star caliber player, then we should never talk about Summer League stats ever again. But let me know down in the comments what you think about Alex Sarr, and please leave a like on the video to support the channel. Also, subscribe if you're new for more basketball videos just like this one.